Welcome to the Combative Nerds Podcast. Join us. What? They told me they fixed it. Oh, guys, I don't think we're going to have the juice for a full episode, so instead we're going to bring you a rapid fire. Oh, the FighterWizard. My bad. Sorry about the hyperdrive.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Raiderlance and
FighterWizard.
Hey, if you haven't noticed, my voice is a little different. I caught a little cold. I apologize. I'll try to edit as best I can to make it not as nasally. Little housekeeping. Like, subscribe, share this podcast. We're doing another rapid fire. We're reviewing The Last of Us Episode 3. I know we're audio. I apologize. We will get to video in a couple months. Now, we are having a giveaway for a $100 gift card as a thank you for all of your guys' support. Make sure to check out IEG's video, dropping on Saturday the 18th. Read the description. In it, you have the details, rules, and how to enter to win. So, the way we're going to break down
Thank
this
you
form...
to all our subscribers.
Yes, thank you so much. We're going to do a different type of review. We're not doing a walkthrough. We're just going to discuss, 1, what we liked about the show or this episode, 2, what we didn't like about this episode, and 3, why it was important to us. FighterWizard, what did you like?
So, episode 3, which is titled Please Hold to My Hand, it's a line from a Hank Williams song. I think it's one of the most highly reviewed television shows easily within like recent history of television.
Really?
This episode got and it's only been 2 weeks since it was out, has gotten rave reviews since it came out. It was superbly acted, pretty surprising. I don't follow a lot of Nick Offerman stuff, but Nick Offerman was a fantastic actor. It not subverted, I use that word a lot when we talked about episode 2. It expanded upon a rather bit character in the game, Bill, and it took a completely divergent path from where we were going in our post-apocalyptic horror movie with Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
We ended with, on the last episode, a sacrificial explosion where 50 infected are taken out along with Tess. Mm-hmm. In this one, we spend, 85% of the show with Bill and Frank, and they're jogging and building a life together and eating strawberries that they grew in a garden. And there's very little violence. And I think there's 1 infected. And it's used as a punchline.
Yeah.
2, pardon me, because in the beginning with Ellie. So it's much easier for me to say what I didn't like, and I think that's going to be a running theme with the show. But what I like was Nick Offerman's acting, the gentleman who plays Armand in White Lotus, and I cannot remember the name, which is terrible because he's getting a lot of mileage out of this too. The parallels between Joel and Bill once Joel discovers what happens to Bill and Frank. The ending scene with the window from where they died. The story of Bill and Frank. The growing humanity of each one of them, although I think Frank has always been he was the more human of the two.
Sure.
But he teaches Bill how to be that way. And how they showed the infected's humanity and then the loss thereof in the very beginning when Ellie kind of sits down and looks at the face of the infected person who's crushed under the rubble. And they linger on the face for a while in the shot, and you can sort of see that, at one point this was a human. This is a person with thoughts and feelings, someone's husband, someone's son. And then she cuts open his head and he doesn't bleed. He just has more fungus pouring out.
Right.
And then of course she kills him. So that scene of humanity, but not really, that sort of mask of humanity, I thought was nice. And there were a couple good lines. There's a great line about Arby's.
Yeah.
Wait, this isn't not giving enough food. This isn't an Arby's. Arby's is a restaurant and you have to pay for food.
Yep.
And what was another one?
The government are all Nazis.
Well, not then. Now. Yeah, no, totally right. Yeah, why don't you tell me what you like? Because I have a lot of notes on this, because I was kind of going with, we're going to do a full breakdown recap, but we're not doing that now. So I'm going to stop myself while I'm not ahead. You please tell me what you liked.
Since we're on the subject of Bill and Frank, I thought it was an excellent portrayal, what I have in my mind's eye when a gay couple fight. When one's arguing about decorations and the other one's talking about supply management. I could somehow relate to that, even though I'm not gay. But I'm like, I think that's how they would argue. And the official ruling on the field is
Part of me wants to say, fuck you for thinking someone's going to argue about decorations.
But
Part of me wants to say, I may or may not have gotten in an argument because our house wasn't clean and my husband was talking about securing resources so we'd have some shit later when our daughter got older and she'd have some extra stuff.
Oh my god. So fuck me for being right. Got it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, you'll enjoy this other thing that I liked about the show. It was that there was another accurate portrayal on how white people always go down to the dark basement by themselves to look for monsters. Like, what the hell?
Oh, yeah, you know what? That is true. That is true.
It's
That is
totally
a standard. That is a trope in movies, and that is a trope in stand-up comedy.
Why would you go down there? The first thing I honestly, racist, bigoted or not, first thing I went, goddamn white people. Right when I saw her going down there, I'm like, of course there's going to be a monster. That's how
I
you
didn't say
got.
goddamn white people, but I definitely said, like, you fucking idiot. It's a dark hole, and infected predators are down there.
Isn't that how she got bit? By going down into somewhere she wasn't supposed to?
Thank you. Like, bitch, you've been bitten twice in the past 3 weeks. Twice.
Oh, man. So, yeah, I enjoy that. I did, from a more serious note, I did enjoy how this was almost like a show within a show.
Oh, yeah, very much.
I think they're called like vignettes or something like that, where you can actually just remove it by itself and watch on its own. Like,
I did not know that was the definition of a vignette.
I guarantee you I'm wrong about that. But you could almost pull that story out and plug it into other parts of this show, and I'm sure it would work because it was self-encompassing.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed the story arc of the whole Bill and Frank story. Again, drastically different from what the video game had.
Mm-hmm.
Bill and Frank were partners, but then Frank actually hated Bill. Frank left Bill to go explore on his own or whatever. I think he got trapped and he ended up killing himself, committing suicide. But it was nothing. It wasn't a love story or a humanity story like this was. So I have to ask you, we talked about this, I think, a little bit in Andor, and we talked about it in a little bit in the other show. Did certain things touch you differently that this was a story about a gay couple? Or did it not matter? It was just two humans surviving that happened to be gay.
I think it probably touched on me a little bit. I would say it probably impacted me more. I would feel dishonest if I said it didn't, because they were two men. Because it was that much easier for me to picture my own life with my own partner and husband. And I'll be honest with you, I was sitting on the couch and I started crying. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, you see your life in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, I mean, when we grow old together, is that how it's going to be? Am I going to get sick? Are we going to? I don't think we're going to end with the mutual suicide. But if you had to go and zonked out on painkillers, is not a bad way.
That's not a bad way.
That was smart, and I love it when you knew kind of it was going to happen. Like, you knew leading up to it. Like when he crushes the pills, like, is it enough? Yeah, and then he drinks the wine, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, you knew immediately. That guy didn't
Princess Brided yourself.
I think Frank broke Bill in one respect. Frank was very comfortable living in this world alone. That was his default setting. Once Frank had Bill flip that, I don't think he could have gone back to living alone.
Bill was comfortable in the world alone. Frank was...
Correct. Oh, did I flip that?
Yeah,
sorry.
It's pretty easy to do. I did it a bunch of times. I had to look it up like 3 times to make sure.
I don't think Bill could have lived alone after Frank.
I agree.
Okay.
Because Frank was the thing that, in many ways, Bill was missing. Because Bill had, well, for what we can tell, Bill had never experienced romantic love before.
Right.
And Frank brought that to him. You know, they literally built a life for themselves, but they also built the town for themselves. Like, the fight that we see is Frank wanting to make the world nice again and
Right.
utilizing some of the resources that Bill had gathered to do so. He wants to make up the boutique, and like, I can't remember the exact lines, but he gets him to agree to, like, use this for curtains and the store and also this and this other thing. They make that town
Right.
into what they want. Granted, Bill also makes it into a giant compound filled with booby traps, which is awesome.
Awesome.
It's super awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was just a really powerful love story. The scene in which you see Frank makes it to the wheelchair, and that that's either he feels like he's going to, before he says it, that that's going to be his last day in the story.
Mm.
And then when he tells him, I want you to do this, and just Bill, Nick Offerman, is just acting the fuck out of that scene. He's just sitting on the couch, just crying as the one person he loves most in the world is telling him, I'm going to die today.
Right.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
It was such a well-acted scene. So yeah, no, I was absolutely touched because of that, because it was easier for me to see myself in that role.
Sure.
It was easier for me to feel the emotion that is being portrayed on the screen. And I was, like I said, I was crying on the couch. I was thinking about my husband, and my husband actually hadn't watched the show. And then I told him how much I really liked it so far, because he doesn't usually go for the zombie stuff. He watched it. He comes back upstairs one night. He's like, "The show fucking sucks. I can't believe it. We both died." It's like, "But it's really good." He's like, "Yeah, it's good. It was really sad." I know.
Now, let me ask you something I was confused about. In the scene where Frank is first captured, Bill cooks him a dinner. Then they go over to the piano, and Frank plays a song, and then Bill goes and plays a song.
Mm-hmm.
I was not sure on how to take it in two different respects. One, was this a scene of a gay man being able to identify another gay man, or was this a lonely person being able to identify another lonely person? Because of the type of dialogue where he goes, "Who is a girl? There was no girl. I know."
Yeah.
I'm not sure what was going on there. Did Frank sense that Bill was awkward and had never been with the person? Was there some subtext that I'm missing here in that conversation that you picked up on?
If there's subtext that you missed, I also clearly missed it. To be honest with you, really, really did not expect to have it be a love story. I was waiting the entire time they were eating
I know where
dinner
you're going. Yep.
for one of them to blow the other one away.
Absolutely.
I thought he was going to finish his wine and fucking shoot Bill between the eyes, or that he would have poisoned his rabbit or something. And then when he plays the piano, I'm like, all right, Bill's going to sit down.
Candlestick.
Frank's going to strangle him with with a piece of piano wire. I did really appreciate that when he starts to play the piano, Bill's just like, no, please, please.
Maybe that's how Frank knew he was gay.
Yeah,
he was like, no, that's not how you do a tune.
This is terrible. Yeah,
I felt this story was more about humans as opposed to a gay couple.
Of course.
That was the only scene where I was kind of like, okay, maybe I'm missing something here. But
I missed it too.
Okay. Well, let's transition over to what we didn't like, and I need to start off this one. Again, we're sensing a theme here. I felt like I was watching a 70s porno with all that body hair. God damn it.
So much hair. Dude, I wrote
much hair.
in my notes, that's a lot of beard.
And chest hair when he's sitting there stroking it like a rug.
So much beard with the making out. I have two notes about how much beard there was. When they first had that kiss, I'm like, I've never worn a beard in my life. Neither has my husband. I'm like,
okay.
I've just had this.
It's just
so much.
They had too much hair in episode 2 for my liking. And then now.
Yeah, but no one was eating her out.
Jesus Christ, true. But then in episode 3, they look like they were from the 70s, man. I know razors are in a shortage in an apocalypse, but I did not know that men turn into chia pets.
There is no way Bill did not have all the knives and razors he needed for the rest of 4 different lifetimes.
That is true. That is absolutely true. What the hell? When did they start making men so hairy?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, so there was a lot of beard. I mean, it must be like kissing somebody like with like where both of you have tampons on your faces, where it's just really, really cushy.
So I can grow a big beard. My wife likes it, but I agree. 2 of those would be horrific.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And then you're right. Right after that scene, he's like, I think you should go take a shower. So they do. And that's the first time they are intimate with each other. And it's a lot of hair. And like he begins to go down on him.
Yep.
And if there's a lot of hair on the chest, like shit's getting jungly down south. And you're just like, oh man.
I'm not gonna lie. I think I sped up the clock on that one. 15 seconds.
Yeah. It's like, wow, that's a lot. I would say that aside from my own shallow dislike of different body types, for my own personal tastes, there was nothing that I did not like about this episode. It was poignant. It was I think you said it very well. It was a vignette. You could take this out and insert it in many different places in the story, and it would still have been as powerful. It just happened to be well contained, or maybe bookended, by the stories with Joel and Ellie, and with a little bit of like pretty much a cameo between Joel and Tess in the middle of their story, because the episode was theirs. It was their story.
Sure.
The fact that it was in Last of Us is just, or this post-apocalyptic, it's just a setting. It's just the set that the show happened to be shot upon. Yeah, there really wasn't anything that I didn't like.
There was one other scene that bothered me. It wasn't crucial. I think I know what they were trying to do, but they could have done it in a better way. And that was a scene right before they were about to have sex, is where Frank tells Bill, I'm not a whore. I'm not doing this just for lunch, so I'm going to stick around for a little while. Made me immediately distrust him. Now, if you look at it from his perspective, let's say Frank is manipulating Bill. Let's say he is just trying to survive and servicing Bill so that he can live a couple more days. It turns into a love story, right? But it made me always pull back and not trust Frank from there forward.
I can see that.
I think they could have played his character a little bit different if that's not what he was going for. I just didn't understand the choice they made to take the dialogue and the story that direction. It seemed like a sharp turn.
Some of the early scenes with Frank, I didn't quite believe him. I couldn't decide whether, is this man not as good of an actor as his screen counterparts, or is he someone who's acting like a bad actor?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, he even says a couple of times, I'm a bad liar.
Yeah.
And maybe in that light, when he wears his heart on his sleeve the whole time. He does lie twice, but I mean, he generally is pretty honest.
That's true.
And I think had you and I not been watching it from, if I can speculate, had you and I not been watching it from a position of a post-apocalyptic world where the law is loose and people are going to shoot each other whenever they can.
I understand.
Because both of us were waiting like, all right, here you have a shotgun under the table, you're going to fucking blow his legs off, and then you're going to eat his food too.
Yep.
There's always that seed of distrust. But you know what? Now that I'm saying that, I think that's the power of the episode, because that is exactly the view that Bill has when this person comes into his life. And it's only through each passing minute that we lose our distrust. I
like that. I like that a lot. You're right. It did make me feel the way Bill felt when he found Frank in that hole. Like, yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, because I feel, yeah. And I thought the same thing. I'm like, oh, you
interesting
slut. You just did this for a rabbit and a glass of wine.
Yeah. I like that. You tied that up nicely. All right. Well, we are running long, so let's go to why was this episode important for you?
I'm going to be really shallow with this. This is one of the best and most poignant representations I've seen of a gay relationship on screen. It was sufficiently different. Both men were mature. I've seen a lot of different gay relationships in film, but this is one of the most mature representations I've seen of it, because you usually don't see two older men whose lives have been lived in many respects, finding one another and taking that solace for what it is and growing in this very literally old together. But they also started out kind of old too, at least older than me at my current age. And just the storytelling. But I think it's important, at least for me, for that representation. And it really kind of throws it a little bit off, because of all the things you expect Bill to be when you see him, gay is not one of them.
Sure.
Or at least it wasn't for me.
Sure.
So it's nice that it throws that curveball, and it's a little bit better for representation, because, people are a spectrum. You can find lots of different representations of gay.
Of course.
And it was nice to see a different interpretation of that because that makes the gay part incidental, not
I agree.
important.
I agree. I like this episode because I feel like it was a good lesson in appreciation. One, Ellie's appreciation for the old world and just the wonderment of being able to fly in video games and all the things we
Good point.
take for granted. Another example was when Bill and Frank ate the strawberries. They
Yes.
acted like they found the fountain of youth when tasting this thing. It was just impressive. And I can't tell you how many times my kids have eaten strawberries and frowned. It's too sour. It's not sweet enough. You
Sure.
spoiled little brat.
Yeah.
We don't appreciate. We live in a fantasy world. Our lives are tremendously amazing considering the history of humanity.
Yes.
We can't comprehend how good we have it.
Yes.
And so I felt like this story kind of pointed that out. And it pointed out how growing old sucks and how you should appreciate every day with each other. Kind of like Bill and Frank were faced with every day because they were in the apocalypse. Right?
That's a really good interpretation of it.
They didn't build a community thinking they were going to live 20 years together. They were just surviving together and built a life out of that and appreciated every day with each other to the point where I think that's why Bill was okay doing the communal suicide with Frank. He was like, I'm fulfilled. Or I think he said, I'm gratified. He said something to
satisfied.
that.
I'm satisfied.
He lived a life worth living, which is very unexpected in the apocalypse. So I think the primary point of this show, the primary point of this episode was a demonstration in gratitude for what we have. And I think the lesson is to be learned through the Bill and Frank story.
I am always impressed by your analysis. That was a really good interpretation. I like that very much.
How I can go to 70s porn to that, it's a talent.
I was here for the episode 2 episode. So
yeah,
it starts lower than 70s porn.
All right, well, let's wrap this up and we will get to our next rapid fire for episode 4. If you guys are willing to listen, we are willing to talk. Catch you later. Bye. That's it. That's our show. Join FighterWizard and myself for our next rapid fire episode where we will be discussing The Last of Us, episode 4. Please do us a favor, like, subscribe, share this podcast so we can get some traction. Once I get around to it, check us out on our socials. Combative Nerds on Patreon, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You know the deal. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you next episode.